I was invited this weekend to try out a different TTRPG system called Candela Obscura, and it was very, very interesting. It was super, super cool. I'm going to talk a little bit about what Candela Obscura is. Candela Obscura is this TTRPG that came out in 2023. It was released by Critical Role's publishing arm. Candela Obscura is a system that really prioritizes rules light RP heavy games. Primarily, it is really, really good for gothic horror. And the thing that I was a part of was set in this gothic horror environment, very akin to something like Dark Souls. And you can tell that the system is meant for different things very clearly when you take a look at its character sheet. I have it pulled up here. This was the one that I used. This is the blank canvas of the one that I used. I played this explorer type who kind of gets himself into trouble pretty often. You can tell here, like if you look at a D&D character sheet or you look at a lot of other different systems character sheets, there's a lot going on. And with these, there actually really isn't. It looks like a lot of words, especially here. A lot of this stuff is really, really simple. These are all of your skills. This is how you add dice to your rolls. These are special abilities based on your class effectively. This is how you track getting hurt. And this is how you track what you have on yourself. Very, very limited amount of stuff on this when you actually break it down. I'll set the scene for you. The DM that was running the one shot that I was a part of, what he did was he got everybody together, did character creation right before the session. So we got together at like 4:30 and we built character sheets up until 6:30. This was most of ours first time ever playing the system. And this was the first time that we had built a character. It took an hour and a half. For context, when I built my first D&D character sheet, it took something along 2.5 hours because I had all of the rules having to be explained to me. I had never played a TTRPG before. Process was actually super streamlined, and I think it really does have something to do with the person that is running the game. But yeah, he set this up where we built the character sheets, he explained the rules of the game, and a lot of it is this really rules-like setting, and it's super interesting. My first big takeaway about this system is that once you build the character sheet, you're hardly thinking about rules after that. And I'll tell you why. It's because the things that you're doing are very, very broad, not limited, just broad. So like if you're doing some type of action and reaction or anything like that, you're making some type of one of truly 9 different checks here. Again, for context, D&D has all different kinds of checks because it is a very combat focused game. This system really, really, really focuses on the idea of role-playing, investigations, and the horror element. Something that was constantly talked about is that when you're like even a level 1 D&D player, you still can like shoot fire out of your hands. This is not the same as with Candela Obscura, where you're just a dude. Maybe you're highly skilled dude, but you're a dude. For example, I had a gun, and that was pretty much all I had. I didn't have some like special ranger abilities or anything like that. I had a gun, and I was decent at talking, and I was decent at running around. You're not going to have this crazy shonen power fantasy when you're playing these types of games. But what you are going to have is a very roleplay heavy, dense storyline. The one thing we didn't do, because it's a one-shot, we didn't talk about Circle a whole lot. People that know this game more, do not use this video as like a how to build your character or anything like that. I have played the game once. This is me just talking about my experience and how I felt about it. So do not use this as like the expert guide on how to do any of this stuff. We filled in our specialties, filled in what our drive was, filled in, bubbled a couple of these special abilities. Another thing that was super, super interesting was this gear section. Typically, again, in like other TTRPGs, what you have is you have that list of equipment and you're constantly referring to that list and you're growing that list as time goes on. With Candela, you have a very limited amount of stuff that you have on you, again, because you're a regular dude. It's not like you have a bag of holding, right? But the stuff that you have, you don't have to declare until you use it. So, for example, when I said I had a gun, I didn't have a gun to start with. Like, I didn't choose to have a gun to start with, but when the situation called for it, if I had an equipment slot, I could say, hey, I pull out my gun and I prep a bullet, and I could check this off, and that would be one of 3 pieces of gear that I could use. It's, again, very much like improv based, and it's not very much like tracking inventory, tracking this, that, and the other. It's very, very based on what is needed in the moment. Whoever is running the game really, really determines a lot about the tone of how things are going to go. So our DM had these toy or like these cheap plastic candles that you could just set around, and that was the ambiance that we had. It's not a hard requirement that you do that, but for the vibe he was trying to go for, this horror mystery vibe that he was trying to go for, it did a lot. So this isn't necessarily about Candela Obscura, but one big thing as game masters or dungeon masters, anything that I would say is that it's those types of little things that really set a tone as to how people are going to receive the thing that you're trying to deliver. Just that simple act of setting that up, turning on the lights, it got us into a certain mindset, and it got us into this, oh my gosh, okay, it's nighttime and we're gonna go on this investigation and there might be a little spooks on the way. And that was really cool. Again, that's not Candela specific, and that's not something that is in the rule set for Candela, but it was something that I experienced, and it's just cool. So if you're a DM, hey, if you're doing something scary, maybe turn down the lights, you know? You don't have to just be the guy that is determining the entire tone based on whatever YouTube video music background you're playing, though that is very, very crucial. Once I had the understanding of, okay, this is generally what my character was good at, I didn't really have to think about a whole lot of rules and mechanics and stuff. And as somebody that frankly despises all that stuff, it was actually a beautiful thing, because when you got into it, it was this really, really dim, a little grimdark horror mystery that we were trying to go on. So the whole thing revolved around this camera that had this special lens that had these magical effects that were turning people into these monsters. And as we were uncovering the different secrets behind that, I realized that I was more focused on the interactions I was having with people rather than the game and mechanics itself. It hardly felt like I was playing a game at all. It felt a lot more like live action role playing. It felt like LARPing, or it felt really, really improv driven. And that's what the system kind of is built around. Again, you're not actively getting into combat a whole lot. And when you do, you're not really doing this whole roll to hit, roll damage type thing with initiative and everything like that. It really feels completely different than when you're playing something like Dungeons and Dragons, for example. And I hate to keep on coming back to it, but you know that D&D is the biggest game ever, so it's really hard to not compare and contrast when I'm talking about this stuff. It's really my big frame of reference. But it was a great time. Like, I hardly realized that I was really playing a game. We were just telling the story. And I think Candela is really, really good at that. It's really good at telling a more grounded, human story, because you're not this like overpowered, super crazy powerful guy. If you're looking for something that's more about horror or intrigue or mystery, this is very, very much like that. It's very similar to another system that I've played. It's called Blades in the Dark. It has a very similar rule set, except the specific wordings of things are a little different. It is also a D6 system. I have mixed feelings about if I would use this as somebody's gateway into TTRPGs. I will say why I think it might be a great way to get somebody into a TTRPG, and it's basically what I've been talking about. It is very rules light. I'm going back to like high school and I'm building my first ever D&D character. Again, that took me so long because I had to learn every single rule about how all this stuff worked in the character creation process. With Candela, it took me about an hour and a half, and yes, I've played TTRPGs now, so it's probably going to be longer if this is your first time. After that, there's hardly any rules that I really had to think about. And so that might be really, really good for somebody who's never played a TTRPG before. The trade-off is that Candela is a very, very RP heavy game. And when you're a new player, that's probably something that you're a little more uncomfortable with than other aspects of TTRPGs. I had certain players when I first started DMing that had never played the game before, when we played Dungeons and Dragons, that hardly really got into the RP aspect, and they were very much about, okay, I'm gonna walk up, I'm gonna barter, okay, make a persuasion check, boom, okay, I'm gonna run up and I'm gonna hit the guy, okay, roll to hit. They slowly got more comfortable with the TTRPG setting, which allowed them to open up more when it came to RP. No, this is just a reality. When you're new to the game, people aren't going to be super comfortable acting out super dramatic scenes when they, first of all, have just started playing the game, and second of all, maybe you have never played with these people before. And so now suddenly you have to do this like dramatic thing. Yeah, people aren't going to be comfortable about that. It's not something to be ashamed about. It's just how people get into the game versus their comfort level as they go on. And so for Candela, the trade-off is, I think it's very, very new player heavy when it comes to the restriction of rules, but I think it might be a little challenging for a new person into the TTRPG space because it really relies on RP. And so if you're not super comfortable, or you don't have a group of friends that make you comfortable doing that, it might be tricky to pick this game up for the first time. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, I played a one-shot. This was my first time playing. I could see that Candela Obscura would be a phenomenal TTRPG to play as a campaign, because again, you're really focusing in on RP and the characters that you're playing with and the relationship to other characters. So Candela is probably a really, really strong system when it comes to a longer term story. So if I were to think about it, and if I were invited on the same day to do a D&D one shot and a Candela Obscura one shot, I'd probably still do the D&D one shot, just because as a one shot, you're probably going to be doing a lot more in the D&D thing. Especially if you're playing something like a muscle. That's not to say that you can't do a Candela Obscura one-shot, but I think horror and mystery are at their best when you're drawing it out a little bit more. And so just because of that genre restraint, I think that Candela is a really, really good campaign, but for a one-shot, it might be a little different. So I played Candela Obscura, and it was really, really solid. It was a great time. I had a great group of friends, and I had a great GM to run it. And so I would definitely play it again. I'd probably give this about a 8 or 9 out of 10.